Hello there. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Greg, and thank you so much for joining us. So, I already know the title. I think the title's funny. The Marvels, and how not to be a cunt. It is fascinating, the discussion, or maybe not even discussion, because this isn't even like a reasonable conversation. This isn't even like constructive criticism. This is really weird monetization of hate. Which is something that I'm not really in the business in. I am in the business of trying to remind people how not to be a cunt. And I hope you take these lessons to heart. So, Captain Marvel, when it came out, was met with, again, breaking box office numbers, did incredibly well, unbelievably successful, runaway hit. And then you had the creeping up of a segment of Comicsgate and 40-year-old men going after this on their YouTube channels, right? That's really what happened. Attacking Brie Larson, spinning conspiracy theories that Kevin Feige wanted to fire her, that all the cast hated her, and all this weird shit that just escalated to like a really disgusting degree. Here's the thing, though. None of that was true. There was never an effort to get rid of Brie Larson or replace her. There was never any contention among the cast with Brie Larson. Nothing at all. She is continuously described behind the scenes, in private, continuously, as someone who is an absolute joy and brilliant to work with and a great co-star and a great member of an ensemble cast. Nothing negative whatsoever. Now, you potentially have a bias. If you go to those channels and you hate Captain Marvel, or you hate these female-led properties, you hate, and if any of this is a woke agenda to you, you're going to watch those people and you're going to believe them no matter what. It does not make it true. You cannot make a thoughtless conspiracy true just because you agree with it. It doesn't work that way. There's facts and there's fiction. I only deliver facts. That's it. That's kind of my goal here, because I prefer to have a straightforward conversation. And you talk about Brie Larson, you talk about the Marvels, and somehow all that shit gets lost, and it's fucking crazy. It really is weird. So the Marvels finished or completed or wrapped, whichever turn of phrase you want to use. It wrapped principal photography. The Marvels finished, right? And it started test screening. The test screenings, I don't care what your clickbait says. Again, legitimately, the test screenings were all positive. They were all received very well. That was for principal photography. Received very well. People said, they do their questionnaires, they do their Q&As, they do their conversation with the audience. What worked, what didn't work, to make notes of, maybe we should tighten this up in additional photography, because Marvel always does additional photography. Reshoots are always a part of the Marvel behemoth. And so they do the test screenings after principal photography. They get a cut together, and then they work on it. And then they say, okay, let's look into this. We think we can clean this up. We think we can explain this better. But there was literally nothing about the Marvels itself there was never any kind of overwhelming negative reception, ever. That did not happen in terms of the first cut after principal photography. That did not happen in test screenings. It did not. Okay? We're going to be very clear here. It did not happen. Additional photography has been ongoing with Ms. Marvel, which again is standard practice. It happens with every Marvel project. And as they've been doing additional photography, they've been testing out new cuts. They've been, putting the film together. This happens with every Marvel project. This is not exclusive to the Marvels. This happens with every Marvel Studios production. They build the film out. They have the principal photography cut. They do reshoots. They put different pieces together. They test it with audiences. Because again, Marvel is all about building 4-quadrant films. It's all about how does this, can this work for everybody? How can we get this to work for as many people as possible? And they test it repeatedly. Different scenes. And then they make notes and they go back and they say, hey, let's film this. Let's do it this way. And it goes and it goes and it goes. The most recent test screening for the Marvels was overwhelmingly positive, which again, means they're getting, they're nailing it. They're nailing that cut, audience members don't have a lot of questions. There's not a lot of confusion, cuts, dialogues, everything is seamless and working well. Now, of course, we are in the process of talking about a film that isn't done, that doesn't release until July 2023, okay? That doesn't have a final cut. We don't know for certain what's going to make it into the final cut of the film. We know that there is a humorous musical sequence in the film, or at least there currently is a musical sequence in the film on a planet where the aliens sing, where Brie Larson shows off her singing chops, so to speak. It is described as a very fun, delightful experience. Audiences responded to it well. That's just a fact. I don't know if it's going to make it into the final cut. I don't know how big or how small of a sequence it's going to be, but it's there right now, and it was received positively. As of your own prerogative, make of that what you will. I really don't give a shit. If you feel inclined to go for 12 minutes and scream about a fun musical number that you haven't even seen, hey, you go right ahead, Mac. You go right ahead and do it. I'm not bothered by any of this. Now, again, I'll tell you, I'm very much relaxed and go with the flow. My daughter loved Captain Marvel. She loved the film and the character, and she loved Brie Larson. That's it. That's one thing. That's one side of the argument. I thoroughly enjoyed the first Captain Marvel movie. My biggest complaint is, really, that's how Nick Fury lost his eye? I'll never agree with that. I will not agree with that. I get it. Sometimes Marvel goes for the joke over the drama. Most of the time, I think Marvel's fine. I enjoy it. But that one will never sit well with me. I would love to have that just completely retconned. But that's the only thing that really is like that I have any kind of complaint about. I'm cool with everything. You can gender swap Marvel and all this stuff. I don't care. I really don't. I find it weird when anybody throws a fit about stuff like that. I don't get it. Okay? I don't. I'm not that audience. I just don't give a shit. I like the first film. I like Brie Larson. I'm excited to see, and I'm very excited to see what the Marvels does. And I'm excited to see Marvel Studios embrace eccentricities and unique perspectives and unique voices so that these films stop feeling really samey. I think it's going to be fun, especially when you have such a unique cast, when you have someone like Kamala Khan, and then you have Carol, and then of course you have Monica, and so you really have very different characters, and I can't wait to see them play off each other. I'm really excited to see that. Now, in terms of what audience test screenings have said about Carol Danvers, they described her as roguish and Han Solo. To me, that's high praise. I mean, Han Solo's one of the most beloved characters in all of fiction. To be compared to Han Solo, I think that's a high five. That's a good thing. But ultimately, there is nothing negative to be heard about this film. That is the truth. There is no debating or arguing with that. If you have an agenda against Marvel and its representation, if you have an agenda against what some laughably call the MCU, you have your own issues, and you're being a cunt. That's just it. That really is it. There's really nothing else to say to that. If you're seeking out information that aligns with your views and that aligns with your own paranoia, insecurities, and conspiracy-driven mindset, and you seek those out and you only watch people who have views that you will actively agree with and therefore spin a false narrative to make you feel better about yourself, all these people are doing is monetizing hate. They're using you in like the worst way. You're an idiot. They know you're an idiot. And they spout nonsense to get you to click and comment and argue and rave, and rant and rage against the machine, even though the machine doesn't give a fuck. The machine doesn't. Nobody else gives a fuck. That girl in high school, she's still not going to go out with you. She didn't like you, Mac. That's just it. She's not going to go out with you now. Doesn't matter how much you get online. All these social networks and computers got these pussies feeling like they ain't losers. You know what I'm saying? You need to fucking calm down. That's just it. So, I know when we usually have these talks, there's always a certain response from certain individuals. And that's fine. That's fine. But it needs to be said. It needs to be. I mean, sometimes you gotta wake up. You need a reality check. And you gotta realize, like, these clickbait, this clickbait content is deliberately lying so that you'll click because you're angry about something. You need help. You need to talk to a psychiatrist. You need help. You do. You need help. But that's all this is. They're manipulating you, and they're using you. And yet again, I can use another prime example is every single person, pay attention. Really try to actually pay attention. Every single person who's running this content about the MCU and is running content about Brie Larson, is running content that the Marvels is testing bad and all this shit, at the very least, I mean, I don't know how you could delude yourself into, I don't know how you could delude yourself, but they all said Kathleen Kennedy was getting fired. And again, remember, Kathleen Kennedy was getting fired in 2016, 17, 18, 19, and 2020, and 2021. That's 6 years that they published content saying Kathleen Kennedy is out at Lucasfilm. She is still there. You live in a completely fabricated reality. You're not in the real world. 6 years of being outright lied to, and you're still buying their clickbait bullshit, and you're still being driven by it. You got to step back. This isn't about constructive criticism. This isn't about a review of going, I didn't care for that. You didn't care for something, you didn't care for something. This is about manipulating a segment of online users, primarily men, primarily white men, because let's be real, all you got to do is look. But it is clickbait content manipulating a viewer base of white males who, for whatever reason, are isolated, lonely, fractured mentally, and they need psychological help. And instead of getting psychological help, this viewership is finding content creators, clickbait content, that is feeding them, that is empowering their conspiratorial natures, that is empowering their loneliness, that is empowering their isolation. And they're not getting help. So you have someone going, oh my God, this is terrible, it's testing well. And then you have someone going, then you have the viewership going, of course it's testing well, it's the MCU. And it's just echoes, and that's it. It's a meaningless, I understand in the grand scheme of things, it's all ultimately meaningless, but these people are dangerous. They're dangerous to our communities, they're dangerous to our kids, they're dangerous to our daughters, they're dangerous. And clickbait content is empowering them. And it serves absolutely nothing. My word of advice, if you come across it, report it, block it, move on. Don't engage with it. We have a strong position here on this channel and in our Discord. We do not allow links or name checks to any of this clickbait content or bullshit. We do not allow it. It gets cut and edited because it's a dictatorship, and I run my ship the way that I want, and my ship is not going to be fed through lies, nonsense, and utter fabrications, sexism, racism, phobias. It's not. It doesn't exist. I'm not going to allow any of that. So we run a tight ship, but again, I am a dictator in terms of that. But I hope this finds you well. Hope at the very least you take some of this to heart. If you're on the fence, if you're confused, if even someone questions, if you're watching clickbait content and you've started to question, what am I doing? Why am I, I don't know. If this can get even someone to take a step back and have a reality check, then it will at least have accomplished something. Thank you all so much for watching. Please consider supporting us on our Patreon. We have 2 tiers available, $3 tier and a $5 tier. You can check that out in the description below. My debut novel, 89 Instrument of Destruction, is available to purchase now from Amazon. You can purchase it following a link in the description below. And finally, you can join our Discord community. Again, one of the best online communities. A bunch of great, amazing people are there, and that invitation is in the description below. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, share content with your friends. It all helps immensely with YouTube's analytics and algorithms. And above all else, and most importantly, stay safe, take care of others, and have a legendary day. Bye, everyone.